great to have you in the studio.
Well, it's always great to be here.
Saw you this morning on C-SPAN. Got a lot of calls from viewers, a lot of emails, and it looked like you had a lot of fun.
Well, I always have fun in the morning, but some of our viewers are getting up too early. That's all I can
Well, no, they just didn't want to miss the latest news.
Oh, that must have been it. Right?
Because everybody was saying, who's the NRA going to endorse? And you said, hey, wait a second, you guys. It's a little bit too early.
It sure is. It's going to take us some time. The good news is that none of the candidates that are out there running are, that we know of, that certainly none of the announced candidates are anti-Second Amendment. That's a good thing, because one thing we do know is that at the end of the day, we want to be able to support a pro-Second Amendment candidate running against the anti-Second Amendment incumbent. And the one we ultimately pick, if you will, or get behind, is going to be somebody that is solid on our issue and that we think has the best chance of winning. And we're not going to know that for a long time yet. All these are good people. In fact, most of them are personal friends of mine.
And you're so right. And I mean, and you've been doing this a long time, been involved in the whole political arena. But, you know, it is early, isn't it? I mean, so much can happen between now and then.
It's not early if you're one of them.
Yeah.
But it's very
they
early if you're us.
They got to start raising the money, yeah.
And they've got to prove that they can win. And I don't know at this point, and anybody who tells us that they knows who's going to win this thing just doesn't know what they're talking about. So what we need to do is look at them, keep our relations good with all of them, encourage them in their support of the Second Amendment, and then be ready once we reach the conclusion that this one rather than that one has the best chance in the general election to get behind them, and we'll no doubt do that. But it's not going to happen anytime soon.
You know, and it's no surprise, as you said this morning, that, you know, the NRA is going to work very, very hard to defeat Obama. But I thought it was very interesting when they asked you one of the reasons, give us some reasons why. And one of the reasons you gave, and I think it's a very important reason, but it's not one a lot of people think about, and that is the fact that he is behind the UN and its mission.
Absolutely. I mean,
on this International Arms Trade Treaty.
When Barack Obama was sworn in, and when Hillary Clinton went to the State Department notified the UN on the eve of the new upcoming Small Arms Conference that we were changing our position, the position that had been laid out in great detail by John Bolton, who had gone up to the last Small Arms Conference and said that this country will not tolerate or participate in or be a part of an agreement that affects the constitutional rights of American citizens, and that means specifically the Second Amendment. The administration has backed away from that position. They would like to use it. Let's face it, if we look at gun controllers, let's just call them that because that's one of the things they are. They have failed politically in this country. They can't win elections on that issue. Mm-hmm. They've failed at the national level. They failed at the state level. They fail at the county level. They can't win in the courts. They failed at the Supreme Court. So, and as a result, what they've tried to do is shift to new venues. They don't give up their goals. And that's something we have to recognize, but they try to find new ways to achieve them. So what are they doing, and what are the two major threats really from the Obama administration? We've got the harassment that always goes on when you have a hostile administration of gun dealers, gun owners, sportsmen and the like, but you've got two other things going on. One, an attempt and a hope, if you will, that he can change the Supreme Court and therefore rewrite the Second Amendment. And secondly, that if he can't get it done here, maybe, just maybe, he can get it done internationally and impose it on us from outside.
Yeah, and you were there, and you saw what Bolton did, and he really did stand his ground on it. And it is very disturbing now when you go to the UN and watch what goes on in those rooms and in those negotiations, and there you have a president that's standing right behind them.
That's right.
And there aren't many countries in the UN that are friends to the U.S. at all.
There aren't.
You know?
There are not, particularly on this issue, which is led by Britain and the European community and others. But basically, we have been able to prevail there because, one, we're the major funder of the UN. Two, they have in the past always tried to achieve some sort of consensus. So they ask us, won't you go along with this? And under the Bush administration with Bolton there, the answer was a resounding no.
Right.
Now, as they ask that question, they're getting, we may well be willing to go along with it, which encourages them to come up with something that we will either have to fight in the Senate to stop it from being approved and ratified, or which could attempt to circumvent even the Senate by being a treaty that we agreed to but we don't have to sign, but would prevent other countries from providing sporting arms and the like to the United States. So this is very, very serious. And you know, I have to say that when we first started raising this, when Wayne LaPierre talked about it some years ago, not too many American gun owners were really focused on the international threat to the Second Amendment for obvious reasons. There were plenty of threats right here within our borders. But had Wayne not started talking about it then, we wouldn't be as sensitive as the Second Amendment community is now to the problem that is looming just over the horizon.
You know, it was interesting because when you were talking with viewers on C-SPAN today, a lot of them brought the very point up that John Bolton has made to me, and that is that this is a post-American president that we have right now in the White House. And you got into that debate with these people, but they are concerned, really, and as you were saying, Democrats, Republicans alike, everybody's concerned about where we're headed as far as a country, our rights and our freedoms, and it has not only to do with the Second Amendment.
Yeah, it's not just the Second Amendment. We, in our community, in our family, if you will, focus on Second Amendment issues, but I have not talked to a gun owner, to a sportsman, to a gun collector out there in my travels that isn't just as concerned about many of the other threats to our other freedoms. We've got threats to the First Amendment. We've got threats to the Fourth Amendment. This is a time when folks who are indeed post-American in their thinking, at least, want to rewrite the Constitution. You know, the first president to attack the Constitution was Woodrow Wilson a long time ago. But now we have presidents who want to rewrite the Constitution.
And you brought up the courts, and they had a story just the other day. CNN was talking about how there's something like 92 vacancies on the bench in 857 federal district courts and appeals courts across the country. And it's going to be up to Obama, if he doesn't get removed from that office, to appoint these judges, as well as what we could see happen on the Supreme Court. So
and the Supreme Court is, game, set, and match if he's able to do that, because all he needs to do is replace one pro-Second Amendment justice with one anti-Second Amendment justice, and they can repeal or change or distinguish in a way that ultimately does change everything that we've accomplished in the court system and rewrite the Second Amendment in the process.
So do you see that also as a hot button issue coming up?
I sure do.
Yeah, and again, a lot of folks go to the polls and they don't think about that.
Well, that's right. People think about a lot of things when they go to the polls, but our people, the people that are watching this program, the people that are hearing us, the people that are members of the NRA, and just as importantly, the non-NRA members who look to the NRA for leadership on freedom issues, they're willing to step up to the plate. And if they know what's going on, and if they vote based on what's going on, they can have a heck of an impact. Remember, in 2000, it was really the NRA and its activities that cost Al Gore the presidency. And at this point, we are really in a battle that requires us to know what's going on, because this president knows very well, based on what's happened in the past, that he can't go out there and win a big battle in the Congress. That if he tries that, he's going to lose a lot of his own party, and if he tries that, he's liable to guarantee his own defeat. So he's going to try this in other ways, and that's what he's doing. And that's why you'll get people, as we had this morning, calling in and saying, well, you say that Barack Obama is anti-Second Amendment. What has he really done? Well, he's done plenty, but what he hasn't done hasn't been done because we're here. That's the only reason. If we aren't here, if our people, if the NRA family, if the Second Amendment community lets up, he'll do a lot of things, and none of them will be good for us or for America's freedom.
Right, and as Senator Feinstein said, I'll pick the time, I'll pick the place, and that's what he's waiting for.
That's exactly right.
What do you see, if you had to pick, what do you see as the biggest challenge right now for the NRA heading into 2012?
That is the biggest challenge, raising the funds to have an impact.
The war chest.
Really getting the message right, getting the message out to our people. I have no concern about what we will do as a Second Amendment community if our people know what the challenge is and know to get out there. But one of the things that we do a lot of now is work to register gun owners and sportsmen. It's a fact that they aren't all registered. A lot of them aren't. That's true of Americans out of every subcategory, if you will. But if American gun owners and sportsmen care about what they do, they care about the Constitution, they care about the right to keep and bear arms, the most important thing we can tell them is get out there and register and be prepared to vote. I have no doubt that when they go out and vote, they'll do the right thing. But I am worried that because this won't be a top issue in the discussion, they'll be talking about other things, that a lot of our people will say, maybe we don't have to worry. After all, we got through the first Obama term without suffering any real damage. Maybe it won't matter if he has a second term.
Oh.
Believe me, it'll matter.
Don't give him the chance.
That's right.
But before I let you go, I also thought it was fun. A lot of the viewers wondered, what do you shoot? What do you like to do? And you said, hey, you know what? I'm a black powder enthusiast.
I shoot muzzleloaders. I'm mostly a waterfowl hunter. I'm a duck and goose hunter. I hunt deer. I hunt just about everything. But I'm a shotgunner, a black powder shooter, and a deer hunter.
And I know, real important to you to get more folks involved in the shooting sports.
That's the mission that I've taken on as president of the NRA. If we're going to survive not just today, but 10 years from now, because these folks aren't going away, then we have to replenish and refresh our numbers, which means we have to get new people into the shooting sports. The reason that so many people are willing to step up to the plate on Second Amendment issues is because they're real to them, because they carry firearms, because they shoot, they collect guns, they do all of the different things that make up the shooting sports and therefore give life to this amendment. To our people, the Second Amendment is not just words on an old document. It's part of their lives.
It's tradition, it's heritage, and it's about keeping it alive.
That's right, and we need to have a growing community of people that are involved. Fortunately, it is growing. We're attracting a lot of people that we weren't attracting years before, but we need more of them. We're going after returning veterans from the military.
Yes.
We have a whole program for that. We're stepping up our efforts to get more and more women involved, and as I think you know, that's really the fastest growing segment, not only of the NRA membership, but of the purchasers of hunting licenses and the like. So we've got some work to do. We always have some work to do. It was in a different context once that President Reagan said that you have to remember that your loss of freedom is always but a generation away. And the only way to prevent that is to make sure not just that you do what you need to do today, but that the next generation understands what they have to do tomorrow.
Alrighty, and thank you so much for stopping by.
Anytime.
And come by anytime.
Okay.